Then we start uniting, the killing and shooting.
This is Power 102 Digital Wednesday. Hard Talk starts now. Our host for today, Fareed Ali. Fareed, how are you good, my brother?
All is well, David. All is well. It's all in a day's play. Today I was struggling with the weather a bit in the east. How's the weather in south?
Well, I left south very sunny. It was sunny all the way to central. And then out of the blues came the grays. And it's raining cats and dogs. Some areas in Port of Spain are flooding out, like the usual places. South Key, downtown Port of Spain, in front of Express House and other adjoining streets. But it has eased up a while. It was raining just a while ago. So we advise that people be cautious and take care as you move along, especially when you're on foot. So I know the topic today is emancipation and relative matters pertaining to emancipation.
Well, I try to be somewhat thematic and in keeping with the week's festivities surrounding tomorrow's holiday and all that's happening in Port of Spain. So I reached out to the Emancipation Support Committee and some other related bodies to just have a shared discussion about emancipation and what it means to them, and also to discuss some of the celebrations. There's a Candle Day celebration, I believe, in Port of Spain tomorrow. We'll get some details of that coming up, and then there's also a play that is supposed to be in Port of Spain. But I don't want to get into that. I want the guests to elaborate on it. What I was proposing to do in the first 15 minutes, I wanted to highlight a concern that so we're getting into emancipation from 4:30 all the way on to 6 p.m. And for the 15-minute period or 14 minutes or so, I was hoping that I could get some of the residents affected or impacted by the King's Wharf development project, just to share what their experience has been. I'm hoping that they log on soon. I was in contact with them very briefly before we started.
When you say King's Wharf, you must elaborate a little bit. It's in San Fernando.
In San Fernando, yes. King's Wharf in San Fernando.
Yeah.
The situation there, if I may highlight it, just for a little pre-discussion, what attracted my attention to the fisher folk there is, and by conjunction or in conjunction, the residents around the King's Wharf area. That area, it's a huge fishing development. It's also a lot of residents living in that community there, and they've been impacted by the Udicot project where they're developing the wharf. I understand that residents in the community are encouraged to relocate. Now, I don't want to get into the discussion without having heard from the residents themselves. Are you seeing them online? I mean,
no, I'm not seeing anybody. I'm not seeing anybody yet.
Right. So once they're there, maybe we could let them in. But what they've been indicating to me is they've been offered the opportunity to relocate, and the HGC accommodation that is being presented there, from their words, it isn't the best, and they prefer to stay put until more formal and better accommodation could be offered. Like everything else, the immediate reaction of the public would be that they're living on unregularized property, and now that they're being regularized, there is an issue. Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
I have Afisha Noel.
Miss Noel.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let's get straight into it now. Tell us something. For the listening public, I have Miss Afisha Noel. She is a resident in that particular community. She's been impacted by the development that has been undergone or is in the process of undergoing at King's Wharf, San Fernando. Miss Noel, share with us who you are and where you live and what are some of your concerns.
I live in King's Wharf, San Fernando. I live right in front of the project going on and thing, and my concern is the destroying one more my property right now, like to destroy my toilet, which will have to be in the back of my house only feces all over. It's like a flood. My water, there's only get like 1 barrel of water for the day, like to bathe me and my children. And you're busting on my line and thing that I have up, like my Wi-Fi wire and this kind of thing. Then I have to be hearing all the noise. Day and night they're working, so we night and day children jumping and crying because there's all kind of noise they're making in the night. The dust we're flying in our house for the children and things that we have to go through.
How many of you all live in that residence there where you are?
About how much are we living on here too?
We're around the corner.
Yeah, about. But right in the front right about now, it's a few are we move. Few of them don't move and few still here.
Okay, tell me something. Let me interject here. I'm David McIntyre. I live in the south, right? And I pass there most of the time. The area that you are speaking about, is it the area where the bus terminal?
Yeah.
Coming up.
That area?
Up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Fareed?
So you're saying it's about what? 7 families affected, or 7 of you all in that particular house?
7 families.
Families, yeah.
Families. Human beings are affected around here. The bus up our sewer, the bus up the line, the block 3 off.
Now this neighbor and we toilet like was running in one like 2, and the two of us toilet in the back there we just running out in the back there. It have nowhere for it to run. It just running right in the backyard.
You want to juggle your phone a bit to show us what it's looking like there in terms of, are you in a position to share some video with us?
Yeah, the video on?
You want to see it? You want to
It's on
see
there?
the back? Yeah.
The video, your video on there?
Yeah, we are seeing you guys. You can just shift the camera so that instead of on you, you can show us what's happening. Yeah, good, great.
Great. Just now.
So, and what is your name, sir?
My name is Alexander Gibbs.
Right. And how long have you been living there in that?
Long time, baby, very long. I used to go into school all here. What's going on in the back here? What's the toilet system here? How they cut it off?
All right. So didn't they give you all? Didn't give you warning that the project was about to start and give you an opportunity to relocate? Anything of the sort? I would imagine that they would not have turned up there and started that project without giving you all some notice to move.
Right. Well, that was a whole thing before it started. They said was to get everybody out of here before they start the project, and they're going against the word. You understand? And I don't know what they're trying to do us. They're giving people a house entirely. The house not good. It worse than we living here.
So there was a house. There were houses on offer. Then you all refused accommodation, alternative accommodation.
The accommodation. Well, I could speak for the people here, but I have a lot of land they go building my house. But the houses where they're giving the people here, my neighbors and them, it's not very good. All the roof, everything leaking. At the wait until the toilet fixed. They're standing in the house. It have no lights. They're standing there after 10, taking long to come and put on meter. No money bills for the people. The people are more comfortable and with the ACM and they're taking out of bondage and putting in more bondage.
So what you're saying is the accommodation you all live in is better than what they're offering?
Yeah, of course, ma'am, because they're not getting wet.
Some of the people who get the house can't even move yet because the roof leaking and things.
All kind of things in the house. That are people who gone up there and they're living in the dark still.
So you can just direct your camera. Your camera is facing the sky. What you can do is just show us.
Right.
We're just trying to get a feel for where you are there. Okay, so we're talking to you. So you're who's responsible for the accommodation? How long ago did they offer?
Unit cut said there was Unit cut and LSA.
Yeah.
You understand? These is the people who come in and see us and value all your house. And for what set of small money and all they're talking to. You understand? And disrespecting in that kind of way.
They're taking long for we to get to put ourselves in comfort because some of we don't not taking the house because some of we decide to build we own. And when they come and they decide to give it away out before the time that we couldn't make it because they may give we chance to build ourselves.
They're not doing nothing like that. They're just coming and getting a rush money. Just go. You understand? You sign some paper, stating son, how to get a house and thing, you have to and go. And you kind of family. I say for these people who are selling them, and for myself too, because they're really not treating us nice at all here, This morning, they give the fisherman and them money, right? Not the fisherman, the boat owners collect money, right?
Yeah.
And we are the fisherman, the boat owners, not going to give us nothing. You understand? That's for them. The boat owners get their money, the captain ain't get no money, the jostler ain't get no money, the sailor ain't get no money, and the man ain't get no money. It's only one set of people compensated today from unit cut was the boat owners. And we have nothing to get out of that.
Those people,
nothing about the citizens.
those people who you are speaking about, those are the people.
We live around here too. We live around here too.
They live on the other side of the road near the sea.
Yes, that's us. We're talking about us, the workers. We never compensated nothing. It's only the boat owners. They want them to pay today. And they're not cooperative here. They never negotiated for nobody on the waterfront here. I find there's something wrong and something very fishy. You understand? We fishermen are not only never do nothing for us, only do for the boat owners. You understand? Who collect 55 and collect this and collect that today. And we living here have nothing to get out of that. You understand? So we back on a poverty line again. You understand? Because we cannot go out there to work or nothing like that. But on the hand, which owner coming every week and hand you money and you have family to see about. You understand? This whole program we're doing here, this whole program we're doing, it was wrong and it wasn't settled in the right way. You understand? Everybody that's just doing what they want in the government sector and that's coming and want to push you out. Here, I know anyway before our project start, they move the people, they compensate the people, and then they start the work.
Yeah.
So I know it.
The block we in start to walk over we.
Yes.
Yeah, we had to take everything I beg, and the man was just to bring the water truck.
Yeah.
So where the road for the dust, because if you see a dust, I just leave my house for 2 days, and when I come back, the dust is about this high inside my house. Yeah. I begging them, and they're not even taking me on like that. Yeah. Then the walking night and day. The walking night and day.
And the only talking about the bringing the police and about quantum. We don't business about that, you know, because that's our living. We live in here. I live in here more than 16 years. You understand? Me I just come here just the other day. You understand?
Did you all go and try to protest on, let's say, in an area by, let's say, the city hall?
Yes, we did that last time. Last time we do that and we got a hearing and.
No, we never tried to protest. That's wrong. But that's what we're trying. That's what we're trying to do right now. So they know that we're trying to protest because this is a part of it. Because it's been long. And this morning now, I finally get to talk to the man this morning. About 3 hours we get to talk to the man, and he said that he will come back Monday to give you some kind of verdict. So we're waiting to hear where's the verdict.
Were you approached? Have you guys approached, or were you approached by the MP for the area?
No,
he never come. Since it's going on, he never come down here.
Since it's going on, he never come on adjust. There's
some people that didn't get house and have children.
There's some people didn't get house and have children. Them is not coming and just us to nothing. That's the man we supposed to see, and he is not coming. He only sending the ones that are still small dictators just to do his nasty job.
Yeah, he never come through. We never talk to the people. He never nothing.
He never come and represent us.
Only one time we don't see the MP and them for down here. It's when it's voting time, and that's the only time that has come.
Yes.
That one time, and that is it. We never see them after that.
Understand? We are in a bad situation right down here right now. It's very bad.
And it's look at now come cleaning the thing toilet from the disposable toilet next door, right next to my house.
Next to the woman.
And I have a 2-year-old here, right? I have a 8-year-old here, right next here. Yeah.
Look at come and take them and visit and come and
we have somebody else here.
Who else is there?
What have you all contacted the mayor's office? Have you all contacted the mayor's office? Or any of the other, I mean, I know you mentioned Mr. Alwari. Did you contact the mayor's office and ask for his intervention on some level?
Actually, when we go down by the council office and take the mayor, anyway, we does not get you. There is always said a busy or not day. Yeah, so we does never get you.
Is the councilor's office at City Hall in San Fernando?
No, it's down
Independence Avenue.
Independence Avenue. But have you guys gone to City Hall to approach the mayor?
No, we haven't gone because we believe they're supposed to come and see us as the citizens because them started do the work. They didn't come and tell we anything. So we We believe them to come down and talk to the people and tell me, well, things going to happen and we're going to relocate or whatever the case may be.
Right?
Right?
I'm not trying to incite anything here, but I'm saying if it is you haven't heard from them, then they perhaps need to hear from you. That's as much as I'm prepared to see.
Because it's not people who are trend ain't even get a house yet.
Like this lady right here. And they didn't even process she for a house yet. Right? And she have 3 children.
Have you all informed the Ministry of Health as to the conditions down there in terms of the sewer being disconnected and what's happening?
No, we haven't. Because the block we in, we can't do anything right now because there's a whole fence around me. Look, in front of me, there's a fence go right around my house. Right there where they come and cleaning the city just now. Right around my house. And right in the back all by my bedroom and sleeping with my noise all night, all day.
So what you're saying is you're feeling as if they're trying to force you out. That's what
Yes.
Yeah.
Without anything. Our old house and promise you this and they're going to give you a
even
moving
moving and they're not
allowance.
even giving me the compensation. We have to wait whenever.
Yeah, that would have telling you.
How are we going to move and we're moving in a new area and you're not even giving me compensation? How are we supposed to start?
And
Is
school
the
opening
area,
September
is
is
the
a new
relocation
area.
San Fernando? Or it's somewhere? Where is the relocation? What area is the relocation?
Next to that place where they put people who they don't
and
like.
where everybody uncomfortable because all the people already move and put there complaining about what they give them.
Yeah. You understand?
Yeah,
Reading
people
the
who
West our deal is?
passing through the yard, passing big truck through the yard and all these kind of things.
So there's a whole heap of
How will that affect you as a fisherman? That's a good way away from the sea.
yeah, I'm now telling you to show that not me alone, many of us who they move from here, we do all the sheepbook, but after that, before we get sheepbook, that was our job. We got a lot of things still just going to see and that will affect us real bad. But you see now, the owners and them don't go in to see them, send them does know nothing. You understand? This money then collect money, fisherman collect nothing, just line collect money, captain nobody, them get back the money, them go home, them relax. Both haul up, we have nothing. We suddenly we long we see money. What that going to the school gonna open up? This is my livelihood here, fishing. Me not much about sheep, but they my livelihood, fishing. You understand? And they're exploring me. When I move from here, what are you gonna do next after that? I ask myself that one question, you understand? I did they treated me wrong here, real unfair, real unjustified. You understand? The MPA coming up and stand up and saying nothing for nobody. Then say, well, people will.
Yeah.
Well,
Look, another neighbor come.
And we don't play with the PNM and it's
Yeah.
Show us your neighbor.
You know what I'm saying? How they go treat me like that? So
Another neighbor.
and all I believe in this school
What is your
here.
name, sir?
Your
What is
name.
your name, sir?
What's your name?
And they call me Spanish, speak the language.
Spanish.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So in what?
You a fisherman also?
No, I live on the port here for come March I celebrate 2 decades and a half, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay.
People who want rest, people want
Were you
home and they're
also
giving them
offered
money.
alternative accommodation? Did they offer you alternative accommodation, sir? Spanish?
Did they offer you
have
alternative
that.
accommodation?
Say that I go over again and this here you good.
They offered to relocate that gentleman to Spanish. Did he get an offer to
Yeah.
relocate?
No.
No.
Offer me cash and
They
I
offer him
don't
cash.
what am I gonna do with that cash?
Yeah.
I
When
mean,
he can't down your homeless again.
You're homeless
when
again.
I told them in the office, I said what you were doing, creating in Vega.
And they giving you attitude of that. When you have nothing, you can't get nothing unit. So I said, we living in TNT, so we can't get a unit. We working for the. I can understand when you go to LSC, these people have a problem with these people on the warfare, boy. I don't know what is the attitude towards me, boy. And there's a serious attitude of them when we go down there. When they come here to the next other attitude, they value your house a small money, all kind of thing, and they're telling you, yeah, that is it, take it and go. So let the car value much, the value how much yes I live here. The house is nothing. That will go value miss me at the value my years I here. The only value in your house and one is small and thing and then they go into that.
Yeah, a few people gonna end up homeless well because
They come in and lend people no.
some of them not getting house and
They let you not getting no house, they're giving you money and dies it and go your way. I can't understand that.
like me.
What? We are two little children here. Watch at them. They living next door with the construction going on. Time get hold. The roof when they go on the other day, clean up the house something, the window fall on the little boy. When they look up and the roof start to fall, the water coming through the roof in the children's room. Look at living here still what you were going on here? What you were going on here? What? And people feel they are joking and a block thing. And man living comfortable and eating good and we are uncomfortable. Father, this single original farm people, you go come in here and think no more thing again, you know. That we will not try be best.
Yeah, we try
don't
to
want that.
deal with it because at the end of the day, they're really
pushing me, they're pushing me, right? You understand?
It's about 8 months.
I can't even get a house because they say I not value for a house. And I have a much.
She living on she own.
I have
she living on the other side.
I have 3 children. I live in down. I have 3 children.
You understand? They're playing these people here.
And them children down here, baby. Small.
Them playing here, boy. You tell the children value the plane. You understand? What's my 2 little nephew running there? Watch them watch. Denying them a good home, boy. And in one year, we had a meeting in Emancipate for 500 new units for the people to go on San Fernando Kings off to move out. Ask LSA what they're doing with all of this. Don't they put people in the old thing and old unit and keep the also other people. You understand? We had a meeting with the man. Huh?
The money they offering is the money sufficient to get alternative accommodation?
No. They won't give me 65,000 and to build a house. Could I go in the hard with 65,000?
And then where this neighbor going and build a house? He have a land no way.
He have no land no way, so come on.
And he ain't less than that.
Tell you, these people and them playing with people here. They're playing people's livelihood.
So when he pay a couple months of rent, what going to happen to him?
They're playing people's livelihood and this is a serious thing.
Everybody have family to back them up.
And we don't tell them.
I don't have no family to back me up.
We don't tell them. We don't tell them that's a line of progress. Progress is a must. But if we don't want to handle us, it's a no. You understand? We respect what they're doing, you know. We're not giving them no opposition, you know. But if we don't want to handle us, no. We're not serving line at the beautiful. No. We're willing to go, you know, but not under that kind of condition.
All of us stand up here.
You understand? We're willing to go, but not under that kind of condition. No.
Let's go. We are fighting. We're willing to go.
What we'll do is I will invite you all on another occasion, maybe perhaps next week, and we'll get an update from you all, and I will liaise with you all in the interim.
Yeah, because the man is coming back Monday and give me some updates.
He's coming back Monday.
Yeah,
he wants to update.
Yeah.
So Ms. Noel, thanks for your time. And at least we were able to bring to the attention of the public because they will be able to see and hear what is happening. And I appreciate you all and what the stance you're taking. And try to do things lawfully. Don't get yourself in trouble.
That we're doing anything about the books. We're going right. We're doing things about the books. You understand? And when they come to tell about the police and the barco and all this kind of, we don't business about that. You understand? We're talking for our rights and we want the right thing in the day. That is all.
We just want to do right.
And the right, and let's go our way.
For me, I find them should have deal with people with children. So they should have deal with the people. Let the people move and then I could have do all the work. Look right in front of me, big truck passing right there. About 2-year-old, my little girl always running over and up and down the road. Yeah, a 3-year-old over and up and down the road. And the kind of things that are going on here, if we don't watch children. Yeah, good thing if we not pay parents who don't watch children, we'll be crying here all the time. Yeah, it will be having more than this. Yeah, we don't carry them in the back there.
Them playing, boy.
Right?
We'll keep in touch, and I will chat with you offline a bit, and we'll keep in touch through the course of the week. We'll get back in touch with you next week and see what we could we can do and what's here. Thanks for your time.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Be strong.
Mr. Cambon, Shabaka Cambon. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Shabaka, are you there with us?
Whilst he's how are you, Shabaka? It's good to see you.
Yes, good to see you too, brother. And good to see you taking the time to engage the working class and the challenges that our people face in this society, to listen, to hear, and to stimulate some kind of action. That's excellent work, brother.
But that's what we've been trying to do. I've been trying to. I think we said
Okay, let's see.
It's not
Yeah, we're getting some feedback.
David,
Yeah.
maybe you could
Okay. It's my that's for me. Let me know if it's better now.
All right. Yeah, it's better.
Ali, do me a favor.
right.
Okay, just a matter of I have an external speaker. I have an audience here, guys. So, so you have to put things on an external speaker so they can listen carefully as the program goes along.
Great.
What I could do is I could send you they can listen privately as opposed to getting an
Okay, I will switch back to my local speakers so you can get rid of that echo. My apologies.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that quickly.
Wonderful. So we're sharing until 5:15, so we're sharing some time with
Right. There shouldn't be an echo anymore. Let's see if I can do anything in terms of the audio settings here. Echo cancellation is on. Default speakers, mic volume. Let me know if you're okay there. Any improvement?
Yeah, that's it. I'm trying to help you on this.
How are we doing now?
Yes. Let's try it like that.
Okay.
So tell us something. What have you been doing? Yes, sir.
Well, let me just say first of all that I just came back from Caracas, Venezuela, where I was an international observer to the elections, and perhaps I barely got out of there before things took a turn for the worse. From what I understand, this morning at 8 a.m., they had cancelled all flights because of the break in the relationship. But Venezuela and Panama broke their official relationship, and flights from Venezuela to Panama, which is the route I would have taken to come back home, would have been cancelled from 8 a.m. this morning. So I was lucky to get out on time and to be back here for emancipation, something, of course, I wouldn't want to miss. So I want to start off by just saying, my heart goes out to the people of Venezuela who are in a very difficult situation at the moment. There seems to be another attempt at regime change in that country. And of course, the darker skinned people who seem to be overwhelmingly in favor of the government are the ones who find themselves, the entire society suffers when destabilization is afoot. So, we hope that they're able to resolve the issues there in Venezuela as soon as possible for the benefit of everyone in the society.
So it would be safe to say you all have the objective there in terms of ensuring that the election is fair and there were no.
Well, I think that the government had over 800 observers there. And they would have invited so many because they wanted the world to have a narrative that was different to the one that was already out in the mainstream media months before the election. So a couple of months ago, there was the talk started, and it's something that happens every election. It seems to be a kind of a strategy that the opposition will run with its foreign backers to begin to say that the elections will not be free and fair, and to wrap that up as they get closer to the elections itself. And then before the votes are even counted, they declare that there has been fraud. And they've been doing this really almost since 1998 when Chavez took power. And up to today, they have never presented a shred of evidence after they've destabilized the country with the false claims.
All right. So perhaps we can get into area discussion. Tell us what emancipation means to you, and what is the significance of this I don't want to say the season, but the significance of the dates and the nuances that, or the nuance meaning of emancipation.
Right. So, you know, we continue to learn more, and not just us in the Emancipation Support Committee and other civil society organizations, but I'm talking now about the Caribbean. You know, our leading luminaries are diving deeper into our history to find the secrets that have been buried, you know, that can help us to really understand our past so we can properly confront it and choose a better future. And so each year we get more information from, we have to thank the scholarship, the students who are involved, who are down in the archives, and we get a greater understanding of what we are involved in the celebration of emancipation. This year, I want to introduce your listeners to the idea that their own ancestors had a very clear idea of what emancipation should look like. And they were discussing and debating that idea with the mainstream, upper class, white abolitionists that they teach you about in schools, you know, during the 1780s, as far back as the 1780s. So I'm going to introduce you today and to your listeners to a man called Ottobah Cugoano, a great African abolitionist. And let me just make this point clear here. The more we learn about our past, is the more we understand that a great effort has been exerted to hide the truth of our past from us. This is one of the, of course, this is not just the African experience, it is the experience of the colonized. So, for example, if you go to Palestine today, you will see that Israel is busy destroying any hint of Palestinian heritage in Gaza. They're destroying the monuments that give meaning to Palestine. They're destroying the libraries and the archives that contain the history of the Palestinian people so that they can one day claim that they were never there. This is exactly how a colonial process is run. And so we see that, you know, at independence, if I were to ask you, for example, to show me one implement of colonial violence, you couldn't find one in anywhere, in any city in Trinidad and Tobago. You could not find a whip. You could not find any of, I mean, you know, our history is a history steeped in violence. And you cannot point me in the direction of anything, not a Negro Bible, not a whip, not any of the other implements to change all the forms of torture that we use on our ancestors. They've all been disappeared from our space. Our space has been sanitized, so we could never encounter the truth of our past, either in a tangible, visible, or even educational manner. And so today, let's get right into a deeper understanding. Let's go back and find one of those truths that has been hidden. And let's start with our friend Ottobah Cugoano. So he said, and he was part of a group of African abolitionists that started the Seminole Abolitionist Society in England, founded in 1766, 1 year before the famous Society for Effecting the Gradual Abolition of the Slave Trade that they teach you about in school. The Africans abolitionists started the Sons of Africa, and the European Abolitionist Society was actually predicated on the institution that was established by them. This particular leader, Ottobah Cugoano, his writings frame enslavement as a grave infringement in the relations between human beings, as an abominable form of robbery, where people are robbed of themselves, a crime for which slave owners will have to repent and reform their lives. These are his words. He describes slavery as an evil of the first magnitude. And he says this, very interestingly, those men that are the procurers and holders of slaves are the greatest villains in the world. If a man have not love in his heart for his fellow creatures, all his other virtues are not worth a straw. Now, just hold that in your feather. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Let's talk a little bit more about what Cuguano and they observed or what their idea of emancipation would look like. Cuguano observed that it was the duty of the man who was robbed of his freedom to get out of the hand of the enslaver. Revolution, he said, was the natural right and indeed the grand duty of the colonized. Today, the UN has a law. If you resist imperialism, if you resist colonialism, that is your right. So there's a lot of debate in the international community about October 7th in Palestine. The UN laws state clearly that armed resistance to colonial imposition is a just act. Cuguano was saying that in the 1780s. He said that while the mainstream white abolitionists at the time in the 1780s saw emancipation as a future ideal, they wouldn't countenance it for another 30 years. Cuguano, Mary Prince, Ada Equiano, and other African abolitionists who had all had a direct experience of slavery in the Caribbean insisted on immediate emancipation. So we know emancipation starting in the 1830s. From the 1780s, they were insisting on immediate emancipation. And quite interestingly as well, on reparations. Yet as far back as that time, they were talking about reparatory justice. Cuguano advocated for compensation for the crime of slavery, calling for a generous encouragement to be given to African people at emancipation. He spoke of reparations and restitutions in those words as a key feature of what he called a just emancipation. The enslaved, he said, needed reparations, which would be a deliverance and protection for themselves. And now I'm going to give you a quick overview of the points that Cuguano asked for emancipation. 1, declaration of immediate emancipation, 1780s. 2, recognition of slavery as a crime of the first magnitude. We think that implications if we think about them carefully. 3, the designation. Let me stop at 2 for a second. If slavery is a crime of the first magnitude, could we honor a governor of Trinidad who was practicing enslavement with a street and a cafe, etc.? No, because slavery is a crime of the first magnitude. 3, the designation of days of mourning or commemoration to commemorate the harm committed and the horrible injury of making merchandise of people. Emancipation Day is that day. 4, free education for all those under slavery who had been deprived of the right to read and write. 5, the elimination of all forms of what we call today Afrophobia or anti-African hatred in everyday life. Cuguano felt that you had to, after the institution of enslavement had gone so far to dehumanize Africans to justify their enslavement. He felt that they had to actually engage in a deliberate program to address the status that Africans had been given in the period of enslavement, something we still have not done today. So he was thinking way ahead of us, even up to today. 5, that's 5. Number 6, a guarantee of autonomous land. So Cuguano felt that land was really important to freedom. If you didn't have land, there was always a possibility of some form of re-enslavement, right? What happened in that period there is that we had the Haitian Revolution. The 1780s was the period of the Haitian Revolution. And that revolution did abolish enslavement without the measures or acts friendly to slaveholders. I'm coming to this point now. It abolished slavery through articles of liberation that held that slave masters were accountable as perpetrators of crimes of the first magnitude. That's what the Haitian Revolution did. So Cuguano's vision is effectively realized in the Haitian Revolution, the Haitian constitutions of 1801 and 1804. Under those revolutionary constitutions, a lot of his vision is recognized. Now, let's talk a little bit about what emancipation actually was like for our ancestors. So we tend to celebrate. We have given the wrong impression to, over the years, to a lot of those who have followed us the leaders of this whole affair, that the Emancipation Act, for example, might have been a good thing. It is not. It is an evil document, right? This act represents an utter erasure of our humanity for me. While it honored and upheld the rights of colonizers over us as property, 37 of the 66 paragraphs of the act, more than half, are concerned not with freedom, but with the financial arrangements for compensating those who would have owned and trafficked people and raped them to death for their loss of property. All told, in that act, property claims on more than 800,000 of our ancestors were reconfigured into £20 million. That's 40% of Britain's national budget at the time, was distributed to 44,441 slave owners, many of whom are, some of the leading businessmen in Trinidad and Tobago today. This is the unfortunate facts. And of course, in the past, we couldn't make those statements because we just didn't have the information. Now we can literally trace the money from when it was given at emancipation through the last names to current businesses in the society today. But we won't go there now. What we want to point out is that this was an enormous sum of money at the time for Britain, and it took them 180 years to pay it off. They borrowed it, and it took them 180 years to pay it off. The significance of this is that while they were telling me, people like me, my generation, your generation, for you, that slavery was a long time ago and we should move on from it and forget about it, they were still paying, for the reparations payment that they had paid to our former slave masters. They were still paying that debt. And I want to go one step further in terms of revelation today on your program. Some of our own Caribbean people who were the descendants of slaves, who had moved to the UK in the Windrush generation, through their taxes, they had to pay reparations to slave owners up until 2015. We only found this out through a tweet from the British government's treasury, posted it on its official channel on February 9th, 2018. When I say we, Caribbean people. The tweet, which was shared with 318,000 followers, simply read, "Millions of you have ended slave trade through your taxes." So in 2018, this tweet came out, and it revealed, when we did the research, that up until 2015, we were paying for this money, and in fact, so African people paid. Let me tell you what we actually paid. So, £20 million in 1835 will be valued at approximately £15 million today. Sorry, let me not. That's a misestimate there. I don't have the exact figure here, but let's say that we didn't just pay the £20 million. We don't just pay £20 million. What we know now, new research has revealed that the slave masters actually paid £47 million. So we go into the old issue books, £20 million. What we know now is that after the British Parliament paid the $20 million in cash to the plantation owners, they stipulated that the enslaved should work for an additional 6 years for free under the so-called apprenticeship scheme to pay off the balance of the £27 million. This means that our ancestors, not the British Parliament, paid the majority of money for our freedom. These are new revelations. And as I said, on top of that, our Caribbean diaspora was paying into the funds that we used to pay off these debt right up until 2015. And then on top of that, the Emancipation Act cast the enslavers as our liberators. and justly aggrieved property owners and our ancestors as legitimate property or chattel. Right? We have now characterized this. Our great historians, Beckles, Philgus, late Anthony Martin, and so on. This, for them, this is one of the most unjust acts in history of humankind. Right? According to Beckles, he says it's the most vile and racist piece of legislation in the history of mankind. Right? So this is the kind of this is where this is the new information that we are uncovering. We realize now that our ancestors had a clear program for emancipation, which included a number of features, and that instead of us, and that program is still something that we are yet to realize, because the program that we actually have been on since emancipation has been a program that was set up, orchestrated, organized by those who had the power. And so they set in place laws and institutions and everything to maintain as much as possible the institution of slavery rather than to grant freedom. And I think that's the point I want to make today, brother. And of course, we can go into more details as we go along. Marina, you hear me? I think you're muted, brother.
We're right here with you. Are you of the view? And I forgive me for being difficult.
No, Tony, you have to be difficult if we want to get a good program.
Was slavery in its existence legal or illegal at that time?
Well, again, this is another good question, because what you will find is, I think the question is slightly misplaced. It was certainly legal. The question is, was it considered just or unjust? And what you will find is that at every turn, there are voices. This is why I like to use the Israel-Palestine situation. Is the genocide taking place in Palestine today legal? By many quarters, it is. Even the IPJ is now suggesting that even the occupation by Israel of the Palestinian land is illegal, and they've requested them to leave. But there is another school of thought that is being articulated by the most powerful nations in the world, that the Israelis have the right to do what they're doing to the Palestinians. If you go back to the period of enslavement, the period of the genocide of the indigenous people right at the beginning of the colonial period, you will see the voices that were raised against the injustice that were taking place from within Europe. We tend to get the impression that, you know, these people committed these crimes to people of their times, and this was normal and appropriate. You know, when there's a great Caribbean, he's celebrated in the Caribbean in Donner, a Catholic priest called Antonio Montesinos. Antonio Montesinos gave something he called a Christmas sermon. You can look it up online and read the exact words. It's a beautiful sermon. He gave it to Columbus's sons and brothers who were in Hispaniola at the time. And the colonizers were working with them, and he said to them, "You are going to hell for the atrocities that you commit against the indigenous people. Who gives you the right to do these things?" And of course, the colonizers at that time, they wrote to Spain that they can have not just Montesinos, but all the Christian Catholic leaders who were of his persuasion. They return to Spain, and they send Catholic priests who would bless and accommodate to the vile crimes that they were committing. So power has a way of rendering protest mute and creating legal ways to continue oppression. That doesn't change the fact that slavery is a crime of the first magnitude. It is a crime against humanity. It is abhorrent in itself and will never be anything but.
Are you of the view that in the same way that the Afro peoples that were enslaved and that are seeking reparation now, that their plight is no different historically from other enslaved persons before them, and even, well, not after, but before them. So if you open the door to reparation now, you're literally opening the door to all colonized, regardless of their ethnology or ethnicity.
Well, what we're talking about here now is crimes against humanity. And certainly there's no, according to law, this is current law now, there's no statute of limitations on crimes against humanity. And, when we look around the world today, we see the arc of justice, operating in a particular way. The people are moving along that arc of justice towards what they call a more just future. There's the two forces are there. You have the forces of fascism coming back to the center stage in Europe and North America, and they're being fought by, the forces of progress. But the forces of progress understand that, and the precedent has been set, that when you reach the stage of a crime against humanity, compensation is due. This is not something that Africans have created or we pioneered. It's something that has been done all along. So you have the Jews are the prime example, still receiving reparations for the Holocaust from Germany and other powers. And you have the Japanese who were interned in the United States of America during World War I under what's his name, Roosevelt, who we named the highway after. They are receiving reparations for the crime that Roosevelt oversaw. And others are receiving reparations. In fact, I would even go so far to say that Africans are already receiving reparations in many places. And if they haven't received it yet, they're on the verge of receiving reparations. The idea of whether or not this is a just and righteous effort has already been resolved. And we're now at the stage of deliberating the details in many cases. I can tell you that I traveled to Geneva, to the headquarters of the United Nations, about a year and a half ago. And there I talked to senior UN officials who told me that after 3 to 4 or 5 years before, nobody would countenance reparations for Africans. But now they all understood it was the just and right thing to do. And a lot of the deliberations now are how to proceed. That's where we've arrived as a human family, a human civilization.
There's an expression that history is written by the victors and never the conquered people. And would you agree with me that what we are actually delving into is a revisionist interpretation of the past? This concept of crimes against humanity, it's us looking back with the mind and the intelligence that we have now and re-evaluating the things that took place historically in the context of the understanding and the wisdom that we have in contemporary times. To say it a different way, we bright people now, but 200 years ago, when we look back on what took place 200 years ago, we are applying our modern 21st century values to a 17th century situation and an 18th century situation.
So Fareed, what you're asking me directly contradicts the actual information I just gave you. I just introduced you to Ottawa Kuguano, who was working with Hilda Equiano, Mary Prince, Phyllis Wheatley, William Davidson, Robert Redfern, and white abolitionists, white radical abolitionists like Elizabeth Carrick. And back in the 1780s, 30 years before they would even consider emancipation, they were talking about immediate emancipation. They were talking about reparations. They were talking about Emancipation Day. They were talking about, special affirmative action projects for those who had been victims of enslavement. All those things were talked about. So this is the way colonial history would like us to think, that this was okay, this was cool at the time. It is never cool to commit genocide. Never cool. Anywhere in the world. Right? And this is what, okay, even if you were to take your argument, let's say that there was enough people who thought it was cool, so you could be all right enslaving somebody, committing genocide in some part of the world, right? I think that a proper reading of history for me, from our perspective, must take into consideration what is appropriate in our times, right? Well, what do I mean by this? How can an independent nation, right, have a square in the middle of its capital city named after Ralph Woodford? Who is the greatest white supremacist in our history? How do we have streets named after we have a Boer War Memorial in Woodbrook, with streets named after Kitchener and Buller and all these British generals and other soldiers from the Boer War in South Africa who set up the first concentration camps in the 20th century. We have a statue of the man who initiated the colonial project globally. The Indians will eventually become victims of that project, the Chinese, the Japanese, right? The man who initiated it all, Christopher Columbus, on our Independence Square. And we don't see a contradiction with that. We have to be very clear about the values we uphold in the 21st century. But beyond that, I'm saying that these crimes that we committed, just like the crime being committed in Palestine today, right? There are so many members of the international community are against that crime. And yet, the power, if you have enough power, you could continue to commit that crime and to continue to create the veneer of legality around the crime that you're committing. And I will put forward to you, Fareed, that the Caribbean scholars, our great luminaries, like Beckles and Fergus and so on, the contemporary luminaries, they've done the work to establish the fact that even then there's no such thing as legality. That veneer, to puncture that veneer of legality that is used to justify these horrendous crimes that were committed in this part of the world.
Are you hopeful that the nuances of reparation can be worked out? And because Mia Motley is saying that she doesn't expect to get reparation purely in the context of money, but given the inequalities that exist socio-economically around the world, and where third world countries or developing countries have been left so far behind in the race against development, economic development that is, that what we may find is that there should be economic benefits or treaty arrangements that give us that narrows the gap, that puts us in a competitive position where we could benefit by way of trade policies, benefits in terms of soft loans, benefits in terms of generous terms of loan payments, in other words, to facilitate our development and to catalyze that development.
Okay, so let me just address this in this way. This stuff sounds good, and I don't want to undermine the work that is being done by our great luminaries and leaders in the steel across the Caribbean. But those of us who have a distinct interest in the working class coming out of the 1970 Black Power Revolution, those people who are on your program today, all that hunger and malnutrition and suffering that I saw on their faces, they are the people who are the victims of this historical atrocity. They're the descendants of the victims of this historical atrocity. They are the victims of the legacy of this historical atrocity. And trade agreements and things like that don't necessarily, those things, they depend on a kind of trickle down to affect those people on the ground. And unless we can be absolutely assured that the middle class, upper middle class that is running the process at the moment has created real pathways for the masses of the people to benefit. Until we are sure of that, those of us inside the movement who are part of the struggle are going to continue to advocate for that, for the details of reparatory justice to be tweaked in such a way that the masses of the people benefit directly.
Are you of the belief that if reparation is made in financial terms, in what way will it reach the descendants or the ancestral descendants?
Well, I'll tell you how it's being justified. So, for example, last year, former BBC journalist Laura, what's her last name? She traveled to Grenada with several members of her family, and they recognized that they have now an aristocratic family. They came from humble beginnings. Before they owned 6 plantations in Grenada, and X amount of thousands of enslaved people. They moved to death there. They traveled to Grenada. Laura took £100,000 out of her own pocket and gave it to some Grenadian authorities, I think, under the care of the University of the West Indies, to look at ways to examine possibilities for development in the Eastern Caribbean, Grenada, and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. And so the idea that I think those who are running the process have is that if we can inject the right kinds of funds into the process, we could, create conditions that would improve the standard of living, the lot of people across the board in the Caribbean. That's the idea. It's a noble idea. But as I said, inside the reparations movement itself, there's a debate about, to what extent, as that money continues to come in, and as I said, reparations is being paid right now for it. It has begun. There are, the reparations all over the place, things are happening in relation to reparations. The question is, to what extent is that going to, in what time frame is it going to be able to impact and benefit the descendants of the enslaved who are at the lowest rungs of our ladder? If you look at the society today, Fareed, it really mirrors the society that we had during the period of enslavement. In terms of the majority of people are right where they were at emancipation. You have a few people who have been able to climb the social ladder and to access a certain kind of privilege and so on. But, for the most part, this society is the society that Woodford would have envisioned. And so reparations should really directly address that in some way.
All right. So, what is your hope moving forward? And and when I say your hope, what ultimately is your objective in terms of how should we in the Caribbean embrace the celebration of emancipation beyond the context of recognizing that there was a historical past that we now reject, that we've accepted persons have been freed, ancestral ties were freed of the European Eurocentric system of government that served to undermine their individuality and their cultural past. There are a lot of persons out there saying that that wasn't the life that I lived. I have no contact with any African roots. I've grown in the Caribbean. I'm Trinidadian, and you may find that not every African person may feel that sense of history or sense of tie to your past as you may. What is your message to them? Because
complicated. You're talking about identity. You're asking about. So let me start with the first question that you raised. One of the great Caribbean thinkers, Frantz Fanon, Martinican intellectual, Martinican luminary, soldier, playwright, author, etc. He asked us to retrace the lines of violence in our past, to find the exact measure of freedom actions we must take to liberate ourselves. So at independence, what we were required to do was to retrace the lines of violence. That's to look at the exact types of activities that the colonial, that imperialism would have conjured to reduce us to the state and status that we were in, to look at each part, to deconstruct each aspect of it, to find the exact measure of the freedom actions we take to liberate ourselves. This is something that we are yet to fully do. We have Caribbean, as a Caribbean people, we understand it in some basic way. We understand and we have to interrogate the curriculum that the colonials left us. We understand and we have to interrogate the symbolism. We understand and we have to interrogate. But the truth is that at independence, the British enacted something called Operation Legacy, in which they stole, burned, or drowned all the files that we would have used to retrace those lines, to trace those lines of violence, that we would have used to fully understand what happened to us during the colonial process so we could establish the freedom actions we would need to free ourselves. And so today, we are still not free. We have not reached a point yet where our society has transcended the colonial violence. We still celebrate our coat of arms free, has the Rena, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria on it. These are the ships in which Columbus invaded and initiated the brutal genocidal occupation of the Caribbean. These ships never came to Trinidad and Tobago. They were sunk by the time you saw the coast of Trinidad, and yet they're on our coat of arms. That should tell you all you need to know, that we are an innocent, naive people still in the process of grappling with ourselves. When we are fully mature as an independent republic, that symbol will not exist. It will not be able to represent us. The Pope in Rome last year declared that the doctrine of discovery has repudiated the doctrine of discovery. Repudiated it. We celebrate it on our coat of arms. We are way behind. We can be, if you look at us from outside, we are a laughing stock. We are people who have not been able to stand up to our full height, understand our past, confront our past. We haven't demonstrated the capacity and the courage to confront it and the will and moral character to choose a better future. We do not yet understand what we need to do to liberate ourselves. We have lots of work to do in that regard. In terms of identity, let me be really clear about this. I don't believe in race. Race does not exist. Race is an invention of it comes out of the febrile imagination of some crazy Europeans in the 17th and 18th century. Right? I mean, a man woke up in the morning and he said, I think there are 4 races in the world. He wrote it down. They exalt themselves, so there are 4 races in the world. A couple months later, another guy says, I think there's 6. And they said 6. And they go like that. They called one race Caucasian. It has no scientific basis. It's just an idea. One guy looked and he said, oh, the people from this region are the most beautiful. I belong to them, so we're going to call this part here Caucasian. And this, and it's all arbitrary. It's not scientific. So when I talk about African, I'm not talking about some race. I am native to the continent of Africa. That's where I'm from. And in acknowledging that, it transcends racism. We in the Caribbean, we in the Americas, we created the African identity. We gave that to the world. And sometimes you have these bizarre conversations where somebody will say, oh boy, I have a friend from Nigeria. And my friends say, oh, you're in the Caribbean aren't real Africans. Because this is an identity that we created when we came to the Americas, we will decide. You see where I'm coming from, Barry? So this question of identity is not a question of biology and science. This is about the fact that we are created, that's where we naturally occur. And our leading luminaries felt that identity would be the identity that would be most useful to us in terms of our struggle and our progress. And that's why we assume that identity, not because we have some magical thinking about it, right? And it squares with what everybody else does. So people from China still call themselves Chinese. People from India still call themselves Indian. People from the Americas are now claiming the idea of Native American. And when you say Indian, what you're really saying is there's an adjective that goes in front of Indian that you don't always use. Native Indian, native to the subcontinent of India. Native Chinese, native to China doesn't mean you are Chinese, born in China. And it's the same thing that will apply to African people. And that application is important, it is imperative. Frantz Fanon said, and I'll quote him one more time on this subject. He said we have to pass through the particular before we get to the universal, or we end up with an empty universal. What does that mean? If we don't address our African identity, that identity in which we were enslaved and robbed of our humanity, we try to approach a universal human identity without addressing that, we're going to end up in a universal human identity that denies the equality of African people. That's what Frantz Fanon meant when he said that. And so identity is important and fundamental.
Shabaka, we will invite you again. You know, you always have a lot of content and strong views. I want to thank you for the time you spent with us. It wasn't like we have another guest, and I will invite you again. I hope you accept the
invitation. I see my beautiful great mother, who I haven't seen for the whole season since I've been traveling. But Lisa Kia is here, and I welcome her and I say congratulations. I've only heard good things about the village, and she's at the helm of that project. So I'm sure she's going to update everybody about what's happening, and I'm sure I'll see her tomorrow morning as we celebrate and commemorate another day, the end of chattel slavery, which of course is very different to other forms of slavery. It is one of the worst forms ever created. Chalk and cheese in all other forms of slavery. Okay, that's enough for me today. Take care, guys. All the best. 1 hour.
Hi, good afternoon, Ms. Ozuma Waradada. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. I know I twisted your arm a bit in terms of getting you on a bit earlier, but it's good to see you. Maybe we could start by saying thank you for what you've been doing at the village and for what has been on this village. Tell us what was the mindset behind creating the village and the work you've been doing there.
Okay, greetings and thank you so much for having us. And it's a pleasure and very encouraging to hear our children like Chewbacca with that warrior spirit and a clear understanding of the challenges that we still face. The Lejiasu Omowale village has been created as a tribute to Lejiasu Omowale, one of the founding members of the Emancipation Support Committee. The Emancipation Village idea started, with Lejiasu Omowale would have been one of the persons who worked tirelessly. I am sort of walking in his footsteps and standing on his shoulders, and that of Kafra Kambon, who are the founding members of this organization. And their commitment to the growth and development of the celebration of emancipation in Trinidad and Tobago. And in the earlier days, this was done at the Mukarapu Senior Comprehensive School. They would have had events like in Woodford Square, in City Hall. So it has grown over the years from small gatherings of people to in 1996 when we made this effort. And coincidentally, that was the year that Lejiasu Omowale transitioned. And a special effort was made to bring persons and groups from all over Trinidad and Tobago so that we can gather in unity and in pride and with our regality and confidence in ourselves as a people in this space and celebrate ourselves, remember our ancestors in particular, and give thanks to their struggles and so on. But the space was created to assist in the development of our people, so that in that space, we provide an opportunity for our entrepreneurs, our business people, because, they always say Africans, we're not good at business, that's not our thing. And yet today we have over 200 entrepreneurs in this space. We also created a space in this space that allows us to showcase the culture and the talents of our people. So we, on all of those different expressions. So we have the rapso, we have our pan, we have calypso, we have chantwells, we have drummers and dancers and rapso, you know, so all the different aspects of our culture. And the young people, we do have elders, but the vast majority of them are young people who do some of the most amazing performances and who demonstrate their excellence with respect to their talents. It is also a space in which we learn. So it's a space of entrepreneurship. It's a space for culture. In that space, we also there's a lot of education, because as you walk around the village, what forms the decor of the village are structures which provide education. You know, so we have these massive books that talk about our renowned Africans, both local and international and from on the continent. And then we have these obelisks that speak to different aspects of our experience. And then we have days where we focus on young people and we teach those children how to, you know, again, become familiar with some of the cultural traditions, like stick fighting, like capoeira. They do stilt walking, they do African dance and drumming, they do theater arts, and etc. So it is a multifaceted space that tries to address every aspect of our development, and therefore it is a space where we plan to continue to grow and develop, because we think it is extremely important that, you know, even as we face challenges among our group, that we also highlight the positives, because that balance is important. You know, some people say, what do we have to celebrate? Well, when you come here, you will see all that we have to celebrate. The beauty of our children, their talent, the skills and talent of our craftsmen and our artists and all those who are producing, you know, all those entrepreneurs who are producing, original products. Of course, we have, you know, whether it be in fashion, whether it be home decor, you know, all of them may not be the producers, but at least what they are presenting is Afrocentric. Of course, and we have food, you know, so it is really a very interesting space to be, and lots to see and a whole lot to enjoy, even as the atmosphere suggests pride in ourselves, because that's one of the major challenges that we also have to overcome. That psyche that that we were not good enough, that psyche that has made some of us believe and still believe that we are less than others in the society, particularly as that is also continue to be strengthened by the institutional racism that still forms part of our society, the colonized, the neo-colonial attitudes that still form part of our society. So we really need all the time to give our people an opportunity to feel that, to know who they are, to understand the importance of knowing themselves prior to enslavement, and that our history did not begin with enslavement, but that we were also once a very great people who have done many wonders. And even though we have been through 400 years of enslavement, we have been able to demonstrate how special and what a great people we are because of our accomplishments, you know, still up to this day. Yes, we have a lot of our own who are in trouble, in deep trouble, and we have to make and understand why, so that we can address it in the best way.
There has been a trust within recent times for secondary schools that in the same way that we have the Catholic bodies and the Anglican schools and the Mahasabha schools. Persons like Barbara Burke and they have spoken about establishing a school with an Afro origin, or that is tied to like the Shouter Baptist churches and so on. Are you of the view that greater state support should be given in relation to establishing church schools that arise out of Afro religion?
Yes, I think those groups can advocate for that support. If they want to, of course, establish their own school, that is their right and privilege. But to me, more importantly, is that the curriculum should recognize by now that it is very, very important for all of the people in Trinidad and Tobago to know the true history of all of the people who live here. We have to decolonize our education and to understand that the way our textbooks were prepared, the way our education was structured by those that ruled this region, by the different European nations that ruled this region. It was designed to create a particular kind of citizen that will continue to serve the purpose of those of those countries that have us as colonies. And I don't know if we are aware, that there's quite a large percentage of Caribbean islands that are still colonies. Yeah, there are only about 2 or 3 republics in this region. The majority of the Caribbean islands, even though they are independent, they still see the King of England as their head of state. Or the King of England is supposed to be their head of state. Yes? And then we have countries that are still actually colonies, Martinique, oh gosh, it is coming out of my head. St. Thomas, the Virgin Islands, St. Martin, these are colonies. These are still colonies. And therefore, we did not, when we became independent, even up to the point when we became republic, determine what do we want our children to know. What kind of society are we trying to create? And therefore, how does that impact the content of our curriculum? There has been some changes over time. I think following the Black Power Revolution in particular, some efforts to make some adjustments to meet some of the needs and the concerns expressed by the African population. But the Black Power Revolution did not only fight for that adjustment to be made for the African population, but also for the other major population in society, which is the Indian population. Because remember, this was an African and Indians unite concept as part of that Black Power Revolution. So the idea is, if we teach our children in the schools about who they are, what is their history prior to enslavement, what are the struggles that we have been through, the Butler riots, the Black Power Revolution, 1990, they have to learn and understand why these things are part of our history, what led to them, what has been the impact, what has happened, how does that impact their lives today, and therefore, how do they prepare for the future? So if it is, you ask an average child in Trinidad and Tobago, who is C.L.R. James? They don't know. And there's no monument in his memory here. But if you went to Ghana, you will see where I think it's George Bush Padma, for example. We are out in Ghana, for example, these people are very well respected and there are monuments in their name. Henry Sylvester Williams, C.L.R. James, these are internationally known advocates and activists for the liberation of African people. The average child in Trinidad and Tobago knows nothing of these people. We have attempted to introduce our children in secondary schools to this aspect of their history, of the history of African people, because it's not only African children participate in the quiz. So we use the African history quiz for secondary schools to teach our children, all of them who participate, about the history and accomplishments and the challenges of Africans in the society, so that it dispels all the negative notions and the young people to get a better sense of themselves and their capacities, and that they have reason to feel proud, and therefore they can aspire to great things because those before them did great things. We have to teach our children these things. And therefore, if that, then we, and I want to know the same. I want African children to also understand the experience, the history, the challenges of the Indian community, of our Chinese community. If in school we teach our children about each other, and so if we have a better understanding of why we are here, how did we come to be here? Not just simply, okay, you were brought as slave, this one came as indentured, that one came as indentured. You know what I mean? What was taking place in their countries before that they came here, and how has this changed and that transformation affected them and how they manifest their lives today? That gains a better understanding of the society in which we live. And then we begin to understand how do we go forward together in a real way. Not such a superficial way, yes, the land of, the rainbow country, And I always remember Winnie Mandela saying that there's no black in the rainbow when she came to Trinidad and Tobago years ago. And they told her that, Trinidad is a rainbow country. And she just whispered to one of us, but there's no black in the rainbow. You understand? So that kind of sense of, yes, yes, we are this harmonious state. And yet, when thing arises, that whole, ethnic and racial kind of conflict takes place, and people say some of the most horrible and hurtful things about each other. You see, because they don't know each other, they don't understand each other. Yeah, we still frown on traditional religions. We frown on traditional Indian religion. We frown on traditional African religion because we were sort of indoctrinated into seeing only Christianity as the religion that is, there's a right and wrong religion. They don't have right and wrong religion. We have many different spiritual practices. And people can choose which one they want to manifest. Yes.
Allow me to ask this. If you can answer, it would be great. But you can correct me also if I'm asking a question. My question is this. When we look at calypso and we look at steel pan music, the steel pan has been declared the national instrument. Do you think that in order for us to project our culture and our music through calypso and steel pan, that there should be greater input and support from the state in marketing and promoting our art form to ensure that it reaches the ends of the earth on a level where our people can benefit financially and economically from the fruits of that sort of culture and craft, because the talent is there. Yeah.
The state, and again, that is part of not removing the colonial mindset and understanding your value, you understand, from your own worldview. If our minds become decolonized and we start to look at us, our world, we will appreciate what we have. And then we would know that what can bring us, you understand, reward, not only financially, but with respect to how it makes us feel about ourselves, our confidence, our personality, our character, all of these things, the way that we interact with ourselves and our culture determine how we manifest ourselves. And the point is that if it is, we tend to think that culture, is something low down on the food chain for the remnants after we spend on what we call national security and on an education system that is not best suited to everyone. And therefore, in culture, where you can transform people with education as well, but you have to have the right content, because you can also destroy minds if you do not teach them, what they need. If it is we are not willing to focus on developing our cultural art forms, we must sit and watch our children when they are involved in culture. Watch a young man play a drum and the pride and the joy and that he exudes from himself and feels about himself when he sits and play a drum. Watch our young people behind their steel pans on during the carnival period, or if we see them anywhere. we just had pan
International Pan Day.
Recently, with the young people and these children, little ones, and the joy that they feel. That is what is going to transform our society and lead our children away from the influences that help them to manifest this culture of violence. We have to invest in our culture and the positive things in the society. You understand? We have to do that. On Emancipation Day, the Emancipation Day celebration, right? The Emancipation celebration, which we call the Pan-African Festival, TT commemorating emancipation, takes place over a period of 3 months. Now, May, we launch until where we are now at the culmination. But it is this event brings thousands and thousands of people on the streets from every corner of this country. And not on one occasion has there been any violent incident to be reported by the police. It hasn't happened. And this has been happening for years. So when we bring people together into a positive space with a positive energy, you understand? There is, the thought of that kind of intervention does not take place. And yet we won't invest in that. Yet we don't see that as something extremely critical and help us to build it and to grow it so that people from all over the world can come and enjoy this festival that was declared by the country that declared emancipation, the first independent country to declare Emancipation Day a holiday was Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago must become the mecca of the celebration of emancipation. The celebration of emancipation is not just a celebration for African people. It is a celebration for all humanity, because the end of chattel slavery and the end of the transatlantic slave trafficking, as we call it now, trade, is a win for all humanity. Nobody wanted to live in that kind of world. You see? So that is a liberation of the enslavers, and it is also a liberation of those who were enslaved. And therefore, if Trinidad and Tobago markets the whole festival, all the cultural components of it, all of the history of it, the entrepreneurship of it, and make it this national heritage festival that it is, the premier national heritage festival of Trinidad and Tobago, there are so many gains for us. But yet, we have not seen it as yet. So it is our organization, the Emancipation Support Committee, that has taken this holiday that has been declared by Trinidad and Tobago and grow it into what it is today. Through many struggles, through many, many, many struggles, and up to today, we are still struggling to get the kind of investment into it. We are a non-governmental organization. We're not a business organization. We are an organization of service. So when funds are invested into the festival, it is not for us. It is for us to do what it is we are trying to do, which is extremely beneficial to all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Can I interject here?
Yes.
This is David McIntyre. I'm in studio. You wouldn't see me. Tell me something. The emphasis that builds up to emancipation celebrations at the Lejiasu Umawale village. I appreciate everything about it. Everything. My question is how challenging it is after emancipation to continue the works of the Emancipation Support Committee and spreading that sort of vibe throughout the country.
Right. So I don't want to take too much time because I know you have another interview coming up, and I really want to give them their time.
No, we
do work.
We are going till 6 with you.
We holding
all right,
until
yes,
6 o'clock.
Yes, I know, but I don't want to stay till 6 o'clock. I can't put it, but because I have a ton load of stuff to do and people waiting on.
I know.
But we do, right after this festival, we will be working on our national African history quiz for secondary schools, creating the booklets and all of the information that facilitates that competition. we also do, alongside it, a spoken word competition for primary schools. And this is the way that the method that we have used outside of the formal education system, even with the approval of the ministry, of course, to bring to our students that kind of education that we think is going to build the consciousness, the awareness, all of the things that I was talking about, by speaking to them about their history, by teaching them poems like, I am an African child and how proud I am to be that. By loving the skin I'm in, let them teach you to learn poems. They sing calypso. We take calypsos that give a positive message, and we have them recited. That happens with the children. We do community mobilization, committee meetings once a month with different communities, spreading the word and having discussions around our issues. We also do, every year, we do a workshop for our entrepreneurs before they come into the Lejiasu Omawale village. We have a radio program in Daba that we prepare for once a week. We are taking a break now because of the festival. Our organization is also the Secretariat for the Caribbean Pan-African Network. So we are busy all the time. And then you can imagine it takes months as well to prepare for a festival that is as large and grand as this one. So we are always working. We do capacity building workshops for our communities. Over the years we have done those. So we work all the time. We don't go away into a little hole, as some people believe, and then come out of the woodwork for emancipation. We have an office at 5D Bergerac Road, Maberval, which is called Emancipation House. We go to work every day. We work on a number of program areas. Yes, human and social development. We have culture, education and research, youth mobilization and development, community mobilization and development. Then we have our Pan-African agenda, where we work with the African Union Economic, Social and Cultural Committee and the African Union Diaspora Division as part of our international outreach. So we do a lot of, we are working all the time. All the time. Yes? Full work every day. And if people follow us on our Facebook page, they will know what we are doing, because we are always providing information, and we also use the share a lot of information that we have. We give a lot of support to other groups and schools, different schools who want to have celebrations. We have these exhibits, we share with them. We create exhibits that we can share with schools, and we as also additional material. So the Emancipation Support Committee works all the time, and we know that in our sphere and among those who we work, we have seen where the impact has been positive on the lives of our children. So, and young people, the older ones. So we continue to work all the time, my brother. We don't disappear after the celebration.
Yeah. Maybe you should let people know the platforms that they can reach you.
Yes, every time I say that, people say that. People don't pay attention to what we do until emancipation time. The majority of people, everybody gets excited for emancipation. That's when they start to pay attention. That's when everybody checking to see what's happening, emancipation coming. But we are working all the time. And if you keep in touch with our social media, Instagram and first Facebook pages, that is the most affordable way that we can continue to keep people abreast of our activities. And you can always call our office 235-5008, if you want an update and you want to become involved in what we do.
So you just type in Emancipation Committee, and the information will pop up on the social media platforms?
Yes, of course. Yes, and endless videos. There are a lot of YouTube videos, all the videos, radio programs, and the radio programs are very inspiring. There are lots of information. We also have a lecture series as part of this festival. We did an extremely interesting discussion on culture and violence in Trinidad and Tobago. And I really think if anyone has an opportunity, they should go on that Facebook page and find that. It was so inspiring to hear our younger people that are maybe young people may not consider them that young, but they're much younger than I am, who have a very, very clear understanding of what's happening in society and why it's happening, And therefore, then how do we deal with it? You know, we don't just discard a group in the society and decide that, okay, they are worthless, you know, they are cockroaches, quote unquote.
Yes.
You don't do that. Why? What has caused that? These are people who have come into a particular space and meet a particular kind of energy, particular set of values. You follow? That we make them believe that, you know what, the only thing that is important is money and power. And I am not important unless you see me as having lots of money or lots of power. And when I don't have access to real power, then I fight for whatever I think, you know, gives me that sense of power. And why do our young people feel like that? That brings them to, because they live in a world where the culture of violence has become very much, you know, mainstream. It's not happening just here. We have those of us who came before them, created this world for them, or we allowed this kind of world to be created. And that is why it is so important for us to do what is right, or to do what is better, so that we don't the permeation of this kind of space. We have to come back to a space where we value, you know, where we value integrity. Yeah, equity is important. You know. And, you know, I always like to use Bob Marley's, what you would call it. It wasn't his words, it was originally the words of His Majesty Haile Selassie.
Yes,
when he said, until the philosophy that holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and totally dismantled and discredited, everywhere will be war. You understand?
Yes.
And, you know, and we know the words of that song, and these are things that came out of you know, these are real things, and they continue to manifest itself. Unless we understand that people must live, there must be equity in the space. All of us deserve to live well. You know, some of us don't deserve to live better than others. We all deserve to live well and to be comfortable so that we can manifest our best selves, or else we're going to continue to fight. You know?
Yes.
So
tell me something.
And Africans have always had to fight. You know, we have to keep forgetting that. That we've always had to fight. After we've always been in a position where we have to fight for something.
Yes.
Nobody thinks that we are worthy of just being, you know, given what we are due. We have to fight for it.
Yes. Dr. Leroy College, the late Black Stallion.
Fight is a little distorted at the level of our young people, but it is that the continuing manifestation of having to fight for what you want.
Dr. Leroy Callis, the Black Stallion, said that black man don't get nothing easy.
Yes, nothing easy.
Tell me,
you know, and then we create in a world where we make them feel if you don't have the right phone, if you don't have the right shoe, if you don't have the right this, then you have no value.
Yes. Tell me something.
Unless somebody is telling them something else, that value comes from inside of you, knowing who you are, understanding what it means to be you in this space, and that your strength and all of your power comes from within you. It's not something outside of you that creates that. Then they will fight for it because they don't know where to find it.
I know. Tell me, how long will the Lejiasu Umuwale village will be opened?
Yeah, well, we have it opened already from since Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We have 4 days. Today is the 5th day. Tomorrow would be Emancipation Day, the highlight of the festival. You know, everybody looks forward to that day when we all gather from north, south, east, and west and come into the city. And, you know, I really want people to look and see what people look like on Emancipation Day, the expressions of their faces, the joy and the pride in themselves, and the harmony. Everybody is happy to see each other. Our culture needs that energy at this point in time, you know? And so everybody look forward to that day. And then on Friday, we close because we call it our market lanyard, where we give our entrepreneurs the last day to, you know, for people to come in and last minute shopping, all those who didn't get to shop before. Yeah, so we close on the Friday, the 2nd of August.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you too.
We want to say thanks for making yourself available. I know that we squeeze some more time out of you, but that's what we do here sometimes.
Yes.
But the information was very, very
I know that.
Yeah, I think you're a very powerful
Thank you for the opportunity, because it's important for us to have these discussions, and I hope that we don't only, and the media don't only want to have these discussions around emancipation time, because they're really very critical to our overall well-being, and therefore we need to talk about these things, so that though the decision makers in particular can have a different sense and approach to how they deal with our community and the challenges that it faces.
Yes. I've invited
Yes.
Asha Kamban to join me for a discussion on cultural retention. I'll be doing that
Wow, yes.
sometime next week.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you all so much. Yes, for creating this space for this kind of conversation. Thank you very much.
Yes. You are a woman of substance.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We give thanks. I give thanks to my ancestors for giving me that courage and the determination and the strength to do so. Yes.
Okay, thank you so
and
much.
the divine energies of life.
Yes.
We will invite you
Okay,
again.
thank
So
you,
we'll keep in touch and invite you again, so you can give us some further updates as time go by in the next few months as to what you all are doing.
Sure.
So thank you again. Enjoy the evening and be safe and enjoy the village.
Definitely.
Blessings.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. Fareed?
So David, be safe on your journey back home. To the listening public, today we had a special edition celebrating our emancipation history with some specially invited guests. Please attend the village, carry some friends. We're coming to the closing few days, and blessings to everyone out there. David, enjoy the rest of the evening.
You too, my brother. That's it for today's edition of Hard Talk with Farida Ali as host, and the topic dealt with emancipation. So folks, do visit the Lijiasu Umawale village at the Queen's Park Savannah and enjoy what there is to be offered where emancipation celebrations are concerned. So